Hey, you guys. Hey. Okay. Happy New Year's. Jesus is Lord. Happy New Year's, you guys. I hope y'all doing okay. I hope everyone's doing okay. I'm doing things a little differently on this particular video. This is the prophetic dream I was telling y'all about that God had wanted me to share. That's called Death and Love. This prophetic dream is called Death and Love, and God added that He's covering what belongs to Him. So this is the intro I'm making right now. I've already recorded the word. I've already listened to it. And God showed me more than what I initially recorded. And so I just felt led to make this intro. So as you're listening to the recording, that you will apply this to it as well. And I'm also going to add something to the ending of it on what God showed me. But it was so much in these two dreams that God led me to share. I'm only sharing what He led me to share for this season. He may have me go back and revisit these dreams, and He may also show you much more in it than what you hear. So just apply whatever God is showing you to, yourself in this season that God has you in right now in your life, okay? Jesus is Lord, because there was so much in this word. It was so much in the two dreams that He led me to share on here. So anyways, you guys, as y'all are listening, you're going to hear me say that on certain parts of this dream, you're going to hear me refer to people who have recently made a mistake, okay? This particular prophetic dream is for prodigals. It's also for people who are on the kingdom spouse journey, who are expecting the prodigal. But it's also for people who have, you're going to hear me say, have recently made a mistake, right? Jesus is Lord. After listening to this dream, God immediately brought to mind another dream that He gave me. He brought up several dreams that He's been having me share over the past couple months in this one dream. But while I was listening to it, a dream He brought up was God is clearing your account. Okay? Jesus is Lord. A dream He brought up while I was listening to this is that God is clearing your account. You have been purified, and God is clearing your account. And as He was bringing that up to me, I instantly knew that on the parts where I was saying that this is for someone, this part is for someone who recently made a mistake. Yes, it's for someone who recently made a mistake, but it's also for all your mistakes in the past up until this point, okay? So on those parts where I'm saying this part is for somebody who recently made a mistake, I want you to apply that to all the mistakes you've ever made. All the sins committed, against God, right? I want you to apply that to all of them up until this point, because God is clearing your account of it. Okay? This dream is called Death and Love. God is covering what belongs to Him. Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord, y'all. I'm trying not to make this intro too long, but the way I'm feeling His Spirit and His love all over this, when y'all hear that part mentioned, that this part is for someone who recently made a mistake, I want you to hear it as this is for all the mistakes you've ever made in your life. All the offenses committed against God that you've ever made in your life. The enemy was attempting to steal your identity and your purpose. So any crime committed against God, apply it to all that. And know that because of your heart, whoever this is for, because of your surrendering, you surrender to God, because of your vulnerability with the Father, He's going to cover all of it. He's covering what belongs to Him. Okay? And as you listen to the dream, this will make more sense to you. But I just want to say this in the beginning so you can apply that to yourself, okay? Because He's covering what belongs to Him. He's concluding the matter. That's what I was getting. He's concluding it, and He's covering what belongs to Him. Different judgments are being made for different reasons. God is a just and righteous judge. He sees all. He's been seeing everything, and he's bringing the matter to a conclusion, and he is covering what belongs to him, okay? I love y'all so much. I love y'all so much. I'm going to let y'all go ahead and listen to the dream, and the remaining things he's given me, I'm going to go add on the tail end of this, and you'll hear it on the end of this, okay? I love y'all so much. If you think this is for you, go ahead and listen to it. It's probably going to appear to be super long, but it's worth it if it's for you. All right, but I love y'all so much, and y'all be blessed, and here's the dream. Hey, you guys. Hey. Okay, so I'm finally on here to share this dream with y'all. Y'all have been having so much warfare every time I try to share this dream. Well, every time I try to even sit down with God to break it down. It's just been so much warfare, so I'm just going to get it out there. This was a pretty hefty word because I'm actually going to be sharing 2 dreams on this one message with y'all. Because I'm not sure. I mean, that's the only way I know how to share it from how God gave it to me. So y'all bear with me. Jesus is Lord. This dream is called Death and Love. Okay. This prophetic dream is called Death and Love. And God subtitled it that God is covering what belongs to him with love. Okay. This prophetic dream is called Death and Love. And God subtitled it that God is covering what belongs to him with love. You guys, this is going to be partially a kingdom spouse word. I wasn't even expecting that. The original dream I had, y'all bear with me. I'm trying to give y'all the date. The original dream I had it on June the 15th of 2023. And in my dream log, it was titled Death and Love. So, I just left it like that because God led me to title it that for a reason, and on June the 15th of 2023. But then the other day, I want to say maybe 5 or 6 days ago, I had another dream. And long story short, you guys, if I'm trying to explain to y'all how God tied all this in together to give me this message, this word, and I'm going to try my best to do that, but it's just a lot. But with the dream I had a couple of days ago, he tied in the part that God is covering what belongs to him with love, okay? So this is partially a kingdom spouse word. This is also a judgment word because judgment is heavily in season right now. But God is dealing with people in different ways, right? God is a just and righteous judge, so he's dealing with people in different ways. So this dream shines light on that a little bit. And then also is dealing with kingdom spouses, prodigals. I'd rather just say prodigals, but it will be affecting a lot of people on this kingdom spouse journey because some of y'all are expecting prodigals. So it was dealing with prodigals a lot and judgment. And also, I mentioned to you guys before, if any of y'all have recently made a mistake, this word is for you too. It's parts of this word that may be for you too if you recently made a mistake, okay? So death and love, God is covering what belongs to him with love. All right, you guys, I'm going to jump into the first dream. This first dream I'm sharing with y'all, this is the one I had in 2023. And in this dream, I'm standing in a room and this person is basically telling me there's this guy that we're watching, and he's supposed to either turn himself in or he's supposed to leave, right? The dream starts out where it's me and this other person, and there's this guy that we're watching, and I'm told that this guy needs to turn himself in or he needs to leave, but he didn't want to do that. So there's a person that was there that was talking to me about the situation and telling me that he has to go. Like he got to go, or he going to have to do this, that, and the third, right? Like he got to go, or he got to do this, that, and the third, right? And so they were telling me that I needed to go and get him. And so I'm like, okay, I'm thinking I'm helping the situation because that's what the person in the dream is telling me. I need to go ahead and go get him. And so once they say that, the guy then runs. He runs and he fled to an escape room, or like a safe room that we didn't know that they had. And it has like a lot of supplies in there that will cover him for like up to 22 days. And that's what I said on the recording from this dream, that he ran to like this escape room or this safe room that had enough food and supplies to cover him for around about 22 days, right? Jesus is Lord. And so I was a little impressed at first because I'm like, he got an escape room, and I wanted to see it because, you know, normally nice big houses or like escape rooms or safe rooms, those are in like really nice homes and stuff like that. Those things are normally costly from what I've seen on movies. I've never been in one. So I was a little impressed. Like, he got an escape room, and then this monitor, this huge screen appeared in front of me, and I could see where he went inside the room. I could watch him from where I was suddenly. And he went into a different room, and then I noticed it was a little messy, and it wasn't, you know, I went from being impressed a little bit to feeling a little less impressed because it was a mess down there, right? But he had locked himself in there. And so the lady I was talking to, the one who was telling me, you know, I had to go after him, she seemed like a counselor, right? But she also seemed like an officer. So, because it was like they were trying to arrest him, and they were kind of pulling me in on it as if I was helping the situation, right? And so this man, so in the process now, he's locked himself in there. And I'm thinking, you know, it's nothing we can really do because he's in a safe room and there's only one way in, one way out. And he has enough supplies to last him for 22 days. So I'm thinking that's that, you know, until he comes out. And so anyways, she ends up finding a way inside that I didn't know about. 1 minute I'm thinking, oh, well, that's that. He's in a safe room and I'm watching him from the screen. And this lady was talking to me through the phone. So she wasn't in the same room with me. She was talking to me through the phone. And so next thing you know, I'm watching the guy on the screen, and I see the lady go down there. And she gets in some type of secret way. I guess the door wasn't locked. And she gets in before it's fully locked some way, somehow. And because I thought it was impossible for anybody to get in once he locked himself. Once, you know, he got in there and closed the door, but she found some way in. And so next thing you know, I'm watching her enter in the same room he's in, and there's a struggle, right? There's a struggle between them two. I'm watching this on the screen. And next thing you know, the guy kills the woman, right? So the lady sneaks in, there's a struggle, and he kills her. And now, you know, he's basically committed murder. He's committed a crime. And I'm watching this, and I'm just like, oh my God, he just committed a crime. He just killed her or whatever, right? So I'm kind of panicking because I'm the only witness to this crime. I'm literally the only one who witnessed it. And I'm thinking the guy's going to come upstairs and get me because I'm the only witness. I don't know if he knows that I saw it. I don't know if he knows that I can see everything he's doing down there. The safe room is like below the room that I'm in. And Jesus is Lord, y'all. I'm just going to go over this dream with y'all, and then I'm going to try to break it down bit by bit, okay? So y'all bear with me if it sounds like a lot. But the safe room or whatever he was in, the escape room he went into, was right below the room I was in. The room I was in appeared like an office or something, right? But really it was a school, okay? And I found that out because when I went looking for help, I went in the hallway and I saw all these classrooms, and school was in session. Like, you know, school was in session and I didn't want to interrupt any of the classes. And so I was looking for help in the hallway, but everybody was in their classroom. So I ran back into the room I was in to watch the man and see what he was doing. But I was kind of in a panic because, like I said, he just committed a crime and I was the only witness. Right? I was the only one who could tie him to the crime. So, okay, you guys, I'm going to stop right here on this first scene of the dream, okay? Jesus is Lord. So this is how God has been breaking it down for me. And I don't know if he's going to have me come back later to add more to it. But so far, this is what he's been giving me. So as the first part of this dream relating to the prodigals, where there was a guy. It started out with a guy who was supposed to turn himself in, or he was supposed to leave, but he didn't want to. Jesus is Lord. God was showing that was the prodigals. Some of the prodigals, God was calling them to surrender. You know, some of them were supposed to return. Some of them were supposed to go back home. Some of them were supposed to stop running and surrender. Surrender to God. But these particular prodigals, they weren't ready. And so they tried to run, right? They weren't ready. Something God has been showing me on repeat in multiple dreams is that the prodigals really struggle with shame. The enemy pushes shame on them a lot. That's something I've seen on repeat. A lot of the prodigals, while they're running, while they're separated from, you know, that loved one that God has praying for them, whether that's a prodigal spouse or prodigal child, the enemy really, really, really presses on them with shame. And he likes to beat them down a lot with shame so they feel inadequate and they don't feel good enough. So that was something that God just shined light on, right? So God's telling them it's time to return home. It's time to surrender. But they weren't ready, so they ran. They tried to run, which led to them going into another judgment, okay? Basically, they got themselves into a situation that led to them feeling trapped because they were trying to run from God again. So it led to them going into another judgment where they were trapped. They felt trapped. This person basically ran into an escape room, supposed to be a safe room, but it was the opposite. There was one way in, one way out. The supplies would run out eventually, but they basically trapped themselves down there. Jesus is Lord. Okay. And I'm going to continue with that. Let me see. So something God also showed me pertaining to the kingdom spouse or prodigals. Okay, this one, yeah, pertaining to the kingdom spouse or prodigals. So God brought to mind that counselor woman in the beginning of the dream. I was talking to her on the phone, which meant she had my ear, okay? I didn't see her in person face to face. I was talking to her over the phone, and she was giving me counsel over the phone, which meant she had my ear. Something that stood out to me, y'all, I'm only in the first scene of this dream, so it'll make more sense when I go to the next scene, but I can tell you this now. So I ended up finding out later that the woman wasn't who she was pretending to be. She was like a double agent. She was basically working for the enemy. So here I am in the beginning of the dream getting counsel from her over the phone, like she's trying to help my kingdom spouse, when in reality she's trying to harm him. Right? And so the guy wasn't my kingdom spouse in the dream. He was just some random man, right? But she was trying to make it seem like she was trying to help this man. And I was helping her by doing what she was asking me to do. But I later found out that she was trying to harm him, right? So what God brought to mind, since she was a bad counselor and she wasn't who she really pretended to be in the beginning, which I found out later, what he brought to mind was that some of y'all, the enemy has been trying to influence both sides, okay? So the enemy sometimes tries to give us bad thoughts. He likes to play on our emotions a lot. He likes to bring about anxiety and worry or depression or making you feel like God just has you waiting for something that's never going to happen, or just cause you to feel exhausted. You know what I mean? Like, God has been saying we should be in a season of rejoicing and celebrating because of the things that God is about to do, the miracles that he is working. When God says he's working, we have to believe him that he is working. And the enemy has been playing with a lot of people's emotions with confusion and doubt and fear and temptation. There's so many things he's been putting into play to where a lot of people have been experiencing spiritual warfare, especially pertaining to, this kingdom spouse journey, because it hasn't been easy, right? Pertaining to the things that God has promised you, right? Or even if it's your child that's the prodigal and them being saved and redeemed, you've been praying for them for some time, right? And it all and looks like the opposite is happening. Okay, so some of y'all have been experiencing that, and God brought that to mind. But so the woman was like a counselor, but she was a bad counselor, like a double agent. And the fact that I was talking to her over the phone was like God saying that the enemy has had some of our ear. He's been planting thoughts, and we have to reject them and not come in agreement with them, okay? She is the one who told me that he has to do this, that, or the third, and I needed to go and get him, right? She was telling me to go get him. Mind you, when I tried to go get him, that led to him running. That led to him running, and he fled into an escape room. Okay? Jesus is Lord. This is another way God showed me it was bad counsel. When he started bringing up that the man was also a reflection of the kingdom spouse. Pertaining to me and you know, what God has showed me for my kingdom spouse, and it could be different for different people, okay? But he applied this to this word, you know, for me personally, just so I could better interpret it for whoever needed to hear it. Well, my kingdom spouse, God showed me that God would walk him to me, right? Once my kingdom spouse comes to complete surrender, I had a dream about this. God showed me that God would bring him to me, that I wouldn't have to go run off and pursue it. Right? So that's something that God had showed me. So God brought to mind the fact that the lady in the dream was telling me that I needed to go get this man, and he ended up being a representation of a kingdom spouse. That was bad counsel, because God has already shown me in my particular situation that he's going to walk him to me, right? Jesus is Lord. And so what God also brought to mind is, since the enemy has been, you know, tempting a lot of people and planting thoughts, he may have caused some of y'all to feel anxious pertaining to this journey. And maybe some of the ways y'all have communicated could have had the opposite effect. Because I don't know if you felt this pressure to try to make things come together or to make things happen, and it had the opposite effect, okay? I guess I'm just going to say that, but that's how God was showing it to me, okay, y'all? Yeah, and the enemy was the influence behind that anxiety or pressure you were feeling, okay? And so the man leaves. He tries to hide out in there, and there's door. The reason the lady was able to get inside, because there was basically a door open for the enemy, because the person is still running from God, so the enemy can still get inside. And mind you, this is a season of judgment. So it's something God also mentioned is God had been removing his covering. He had been covering them to a certain extent because of our prayers, but God has been removing that covering. So it was like the enemy had access, because a lot of these people had been living in sin and they've been covered by the grace of God. They had been committing crimes, like spiritual crimes back to back, but have been covered by the grace of God, okay? Jesus is Lord. All right, you guys. So that was basically that part of the dream. Okay, that was that part for the prodigals or kingdom spouses, okay? God showed me this another way, because judgment is heavily taking place, because he showed me 3 different results for 3 different people, okay? So this is something else he showed me. So for those 2, God had mentioned that some people who have been committing crimes against his children, like doing different witchcraft attacks or just manipulation or lies and gossip, just different things that he's already been trying to correct them of, there's a judgment taking place on them too. Judgment has been made on them too, and they've tried to run and hide, okay? So the man was also a reflection of the people who are under judgment right now. Some of them who are under judgment right now for different reasons, who have been trying to run and hide and escape the judgment of God, but they can't, okay? So God showed me that in two ways. He showed me for some of the prodigals that were trying to run and hide. He also showed it to me for other people who have committed crimes against God. And a judgment has been made on them. And they have been trying to escape it and trying to run and hide. Okay. And then he was also showing me for the next part when the guy goes to the safe room. The person thought they could do these other people I'm talking about, right? Who are guilty of these crimes, whether it be witchcraft or, just different attacks against the body. This person thought they could do all that bad that they were doing. They thought they could continue being a manipulator, a gossiper, or a liar, or hurting people, or doing witchcraft attacks, whatever they were doing. This person thought they could do all the bad they had been doing and get away with it, because it seemed like they were getting away with it and escape the judgment of God. So by the guy going off to the escape room, that's what God was showing on that part, that they thought they could get away with it. Okay. Some of them thought that they got away with it and successfully avoided the wrath of God. Some of them thought that they got away with what they had done. Okay. Some of these people thought that they had got away with what they have done to you and successfully avoided the wrath of God. But now they were trapped. Okay. They were trapped by their own sins, is what God was bringing to mind. That sin brings death and torment, but now they were trapped. They've gotten themselves into a position where they are trapped, and they couldn't get away if they wanted to. Okay, so that was that part of the dream, you guys. And then, okay, so the next part of the dream, the guy just committed murder, right? And I witnessed this, and I'm like, I gotta get help. I gotta call the cops on him because I don't want him to come up here and get me. I'm the only witness, right? And so then I'm go to the hallway to find help. Everybody's in class, like class is in session, everybody in class, so there's nobody out there to help. I go back in the room, I look at the screen again on the video to see what the man doing now. When I look on the screen, I no longer see the man down there anymore. Okay, now I see my daughter, right? So when I go back inside and I look at the monitor, like the little screen that's showing me, everything that's going on in that room, I no longer see that man there. Instead, in his place, I see my daughter. And it's almost like, it's like my daughter committed that crime. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, it's my child. And what am I going to do if she committed a crime like that, right? Jesus is Lord. So then as soon as I see that it's no longer the man there, but it's my daughter who's in that position, who's just done that crime like that, I panic a little bit. But then I hear this thought that says, that's not my daughter, right? That's somebody that's been pretending to be my daughter, okay? Jesus is Lord. And y'all stay with me. I was like, I didn't know how I was going to share this dream because, oh my God, God was showing this to me in multiple scenarios. So y'all just bear with me. So when I come back in the room, I look at the screen, I see, it looks like my daughter. But then I have a knowing that says that's not my daughter. That's somebody that was pretending to be my daughter. And I had been putting all this time into raising her only to find out that wasn't even my daughter, right? It's this whole scenario that's playing out in my head that I thought this child belonged to me, but she doesn't. And I had spent all this time and poured all this love into her, raising her, and and just to find out that she didn't even belong to me. She wasn't mine, almost like she was switched at birth or something. And that's like the newfound revelation that I'm getting when I come back in the room and I see the man is no longer the man now, is someone who appears to look like my child, only to come into the understanding that that's not my child, but someone who pretended to be my child that I poured into. And I just thought about the loss, like all the time I spent pouring into her and, pouring out love and raising her, all the time I spent pouring into her, basically, right? Jesus is Lord. And so then I'm like, man, And then, she just committed that crime. And so then I'm looking away from the screen, and I'm coming to the conclusion that I'm calling the cops on her still, right? Because she committed this crime, and then on top of that, she's not even mine. I've put all this time into raising her only to find out that she didn't even belong to me. I poured my all into her only to find out that she wasn't even mine, right? Jesus is Lord. So that's the conclusion I come to. And then I'm looking off to the side again to see about, calling for help to have her arrested now. Okay, Jesus is Lord. So then when I go back to the screen again, to check on the screen again, this time it's like I see my daughter right in front of me, and she's come upstairs from downstairs, right? And she's standing right in front of me. And so she's standing right in front of me. So when I see her right in front of me, I look at her and I say, that's my daughter, my real daughter that's standing right in front of me, okay? Y'all bear with me, okay? I saw this 3 different ways in a dream. And so I'm trying my best to share it with y'all. So when I go back the 3rd time, it is my daughter. Okay? It is my daughter. And I have my life flashes before my eyes. And I think about all the moments that we shared. I think about our relationship. I think about how I raised her and all the love I poured into her. And just every moment we shared, our lives literally flashed before my eyes. And I think about our relationship, basically. Right? And okay, so that's that part of the dream. The 3rd time I go back to look at the screen, well, not the screen, it's my daughter in the flesh. She's come upstairs and she's standing right in front of me, and I recognize her as my own. Okay, we're face to face, and I recognize her as my own. And when I see her as my own, I'm saying to myself, I have to cover her. My decision is to cover her because she's mine. She belongs to me. She's mine. And my decision instantly is I have to protect her. This whole scenario is playing out for her too. Like, she just committed this crime. Just like the scenario played out for the guy and the girl who was the pretender. And then now her, my actual daughter. The whole scenario is playing out like that for her too, where she just committed the crime. But I'm saying she's mine. I have to protect her. I have to cover her. I'm not calling the cops on her because she belongs to me. The first 2 I'm calling the cops on them, but this one is mine. So what I thought to do was to change her clothes, get her some new clean clothes, and get her up out of there. We was gonna run off and get away from that place. And I was gonna cover her tracks, and I was gonna cover and protect her because she's my child. And she belongs to me, okay? Jesus is Lord. So here we go, y'all. After the 2nd time I glanced at the monitor, the screen, right? The 2nd time I glanced at it, and I thought what I saw was my daughter, only to find out it was a pretender the 2nd time, right? I had the knowing and understanding that she was someone who had been pretending to be mine all this time. And I had the knowing and understanding that once I turned into pretender, I could get my real daughter, okay? That's something I left out. I forgot to say with the 2nd time. When the 2nd time I looked at the screen and I saw that the girl I saw looked like my daughter, and I had a knowing that it wasn't my daughter, I also had a knowing that once I turned into pretender, I get my real daughter, okay? I had that knowing. And then I also had the thought come into mind. I started thinking about how I had been pouring out all my love on a child that wasn't mine. Jesus is Lord. I started to think heavily about how I've been pouring out all my love on a child that didn't even belong to me, that wasn't even mine. But once I turned her in, I would be able to put my love on a child that was actually mine. Okay? Once I turned her in, once I turned her over to the authorities, then I will be able to actually put my love on a child that was mine. All of my love on a child that was mine. And that our lives would change for the better. Our lives would never be the same after that. Okay? And I said, imagine if you gave your real daughter all that love you was giving a child that wasn't even yours. Jesus is Lord. I was imagining to myself, if I would have gave my real daughter, my actual daughter, all the love that I had been giving that child that wasn't even mine, but who was pretending the whole time. Jesus is Lord. And I imagined how our lives would change for the better. Okay? My attention would not be divided anymore. It was like I had separated, the two. This one was pretending to be mine. I had been pouring out to this one. I'm not doing it no more. This is my real child over here, and I'm giving her all I got. The pretender had been exposed. And now I know who's mine. And they're getting all I got. They're getting the best I have to offer. Okay? Jesus is Lord. Oh my God. Jesus is Lord, you guys. Okay. So let's break down this part, because I know this was a lot. So God had given me 3 different scenarios for how this situation would be handled. And like I said, he's been showing me that different judgments have been taking place. So with the first scenario, with it being a guy, a stranger that I had never seen before, in this particular part, right? In this particular scene of the dream, I was reflecting God. I told y'all sometimes in dreams, I reflect myself. Sometimes I'm a watchman. Sometimes I reflect you guys. And then sometimes I reflect God. My actual name is Tiffany. And oftentimes when I would look up my name when I was younger, it would mean the appearance of God. So sometimes in dreams, I reflect God. So in this particular scene of the dream, where I'm watching on a monitor a crime that's been committed, and I'm having 3 different reactions for 3 different people, 3 different scenarios, I was reflecting God. And I was judging each one accordingly. Okay? So I'm looking at the screen. I just witnessed the crime. And I see this man. At first, to me, it's a man that committed this crime that I don't know. That's a stranger to me, right? Jesus is Lord. And I'm thinking, when I look away and I'm going to the hall. Well, I look off first, y'all, because I'm trying to figure out how to handle this. And I'm contemplating. The fact that I'm the only witness. Jesus is Lord. That I was the only witness to this crime. And if this man is aware that I'm the only witness to this crime, then he may try to take me out to cover his tracks. Jesus is Lord. Well, God is bringing to mind that he's sending his children out as witnesses. Y'all are coming out of hiding. He hasn't had a lot of witnesses in the past couple years. He's sending out people after his own heart to be a witness, to be a light. So I had the knowing and understanding that I was the only witness to a crime that could expose this crime, that could expose the man and his crime. God brought to mind witchcraft in this particular scenario, okay? That his children that he's bringing out of hiding, y'all are exposing the enemy. You are being a witness. You're a real witness to the crimes, to the spiritual crimes, to bring exposure, to be a light in a dark world, to help open up the eyes of so many people that have been asleep for so long. You guys are going to be a witness. You're going to bear much fruit. So what God brought to mind is, if he put it in the perspective of that man being like someone who practiced witchcraft, or someone who's been attacking the different members of his body, or someone who has been trying to destroy his witnesses, his remnant. Jesus is Lord. He put it in that category. If the man didn't get turned in, and he found out that there was a witness to his crime to come against him for his crime, he would have tried to take out the witness. God is dealing with those who have been getting in the way of him putting his people in position that he desires to use. All of this is tied into the reversal that's taking place, where God is sending his children out, his chosen few, his remnant that are ready, that have gone through their process, and you're coming out of hiding and you're getting in position. You're walking into the promises of God, but it's about purpose as well. All of this is for the glory of God. So the first person, when I looked at that person, I'm like, well, I got to turn them in. If not, they're going to attack the witnesses. I was the only witness. If not, if I don't turn this person in, if I don't have this person arrested, if I don't deal with this person according to the crime, then they will attack the witness. That was my thought process, okay? So for the first person, it was as if I was reflecting God there, right? And the judgment was made that way for that person because I was the only witness. That was the thought process I had when I was looking at the man. And if the man is not arrested, he will attack the witness so he can get away with the crime. Jesus is Lord. So, okay, you guys, that's how God showed it to me for the first part. The second part, when I went in the hallway and nobody was there because class was in session, Jesus is Lord. Students were in their rooms getting taught. This is in season, okay? This is in season. Another dream where God is mentioned in the hallway. Jesus is Lord. This is in season. People are in class. Class is in session. And transitions are taking place. Jesus is Lord. So anyways, I go back in the room. I look at the screen, and it looks like it's my daughter now. But I find out she's pretending. It's not really my daughter, right? Okay, so on this part, God referred to this as like the Sauls. Okay, he's been talking a lot about the reversal and like his Davids and the Sauls and, you know, him removing people who have pretended to belong to him, exposing them and removing them and raising up people who truly have his heart, right? So the fact that I thought I saw my daughter and then I had a knowing that's not my daughter. I had that knowing instantly, and that she had just been pretending. And I had put all this time, I've been pouring out all this love on this person, and they had been pretending. That basically God has been looking at some people that he has raised up or allowed to be in an elevated position who have been pretending to belong to him, only to find out that they never really did, that he never had their heart, and they committed crimes against him. And the verdict was already in that they're not his child. This child does not belong to him. He is not the father of this child. And he'd been pouring out all this love on them for so long, giving them the best of him for so, like, Jesus is Lord, covering them, protecting them, and they did not belong to him. They had just been pretending the whole time. The verdict was in that he is not the father. He is not the father of this child. His judgment was to turn them in and to stop pouring on something that does not belong to him, to stop covering and protecting what does not belong to him. When I realized that this child was not mine but a pretender, the second time I looked at that screen, I said, it looked like my child, but it wasn't. It was a pretender. I thought to myself, I had the thought, I started thinking about how I had been pouring out all my love on a child that wasn't even mine. But once I turned her in, I would be able to put my love on a child that was mine, and our lives would change for the better. Okay? Our lives would change for the better. And then I said, I imagined if I gave my real daughter, my real child, my daughter's name is Zion. Imagine if I poured all that out on Zion, a child that belongs to me. All that love I was given to this pretender. Imagine if I gave that to Zion, my daughter Zion. Yeah, my daughter's name, Zion. Imagine if I gave that to Zion, my real child. Everything I was giving that pretender that wasn't even mine. Imagine how much more better our lives would change. How much more better our lives would be, how our lives would change for the better, basically, okay? Jesus is Lord, you guys. So that was the thought process that I was having during that time. And so what God was showing, and he's bringing up other dreams I've had right now where basically he has shown me that his grace will run out for certain people who have been pretending to belong to him, that he has been giving warnings to, and maybe he did petition them initially, and he did put them in position initially, but they lost their way, and he's given them time and time and time and time again to correct it, and they haven't corrected it. And he referred to them as Sauls, right? He does not have their heart. He don't have their heart. And so he's going to bring them down and send his Davids out. And he's going to pour his love and he's going to back up his Davids. He's going to cover and protect his Davids and get them in position. But Saul's season is up. Okay? That's how he was showing me that part. They will be removed. That there is judgment on them. He's done covering them because they don't even belong to him. The verdict is in. They don't belong to him. He is not the Father. And now just imagine if he actually pours out all his love and backing on the children that do belong to him, the child that does belong to him. Now imagine if he pours out all that on Zion. How much better their lives will be. How much their lives are going to change for the better. Now that he's putting his all just into what belongs to him. Okay? Jesus is Lord. Because God covers us, y'all. He has so much grace and mercy. Jesus is Lord. Okay, you guys. Okay, so that's that part of the dream. That's that part of the dream. And so now I basically have my daughter on the third part where I see her right in front of me and our lives flash before my eyes. And I remember all the moments we shared, raising her up. And what I remember most is our relationship. Okay? Our relationship. The people that belong to God, you have a relationship with him, not religion. When the third scene, when I see my actual daughter standing right in front of me, right? To where it's like tangible, she's in front of me. I'm not watching her from a screen. She's come upstairs or whatever from that room. Oh, God brought to mind that some of y'all have left places for him. Because she came out on her own. Right? The other two, they were still down there hiding. But the third time I came in that room, I saw my actual daughter in the room with me. She wasn't hiding. She came out on her own. So Zion came out on her own, but it was my actual daughter. And I felt the connection immediately that she was mine. This wasn't a pretender, okay? And I thought of our relationship. So, the children that belong to God, he has a relationship with them and not religion, okay? Jesus is Lord. And so, anyways, I understand she's shaken up because of what just happened and that I need to cover her and protect her. I understand there was a crime that was committed and she was guilty of the crime, but I've already decided that she's mine. So I'm protecting her and she's not going to get the same sentencing that they are. She's like covered with a certain amount of grace because she's mine. So the way I was going to handle the other two, I wouldn't dare handle her that way. Okay? My instinct as her parent was to protect her and cover her. And so I immediately wanted to go change her clothes. And there wasn't blood or anything on her clothes, even though a crime was just committed. But I felt like we needed to change her clothes, to get rid of the evidence. Jesus is Lord. When I say the thoughts I was having in this dream was to protect her, in the dream, a crime was committed, like a murder is a serious crime. That's a crime that's committed that a person can go to jail for the rest of their life. And in my mind, wasn't nobody locking up my child for the rest of their life. My child was not about to be in bondage for the rest of her life. That wasn't happening. It wasn't even a second thought. My child was not about to be in bondage for the rest of her life. We weren't going to do that. So the thought, as far as I was concerned, this Jesus is Lord. Thank you, Father. He's giving me confirmation. He's so good. From far as I was concerned, we getting out of here. I'm covering her. Let's change your clothes. Let's get rid of all the evidence. Let's pack our bags and go. Because I'm covering you. We're getting out of this place. And what I came to understand and find out while I was changing her clothes, I came into the knowing and understanding that the counselor lady in the beginning, who was pretending to be a counselor, but also pretending to be, work for the law, right? Even though she was against the law, Jesus is Lord. This was the part where I came to find out that when she went down there in that safe room to approach the guy, she was really trying to steal from him, okay? I found out she was trying to steal his fragrance. That's what my daughter was letting me know when she was upstairs. The lady was trying to steal a fragrance from her. And that's why they got into the altercation. She was trying to steal from her. But she was pretending like she was, with the law and stuff. But really she was a thief. That's why I said she's playing a double agent. And what God brought to mind, because I'm like, why steal a fragrance? Why steal a fragrance? And what he basically brought to mind was, it was identity. Her fragrance was her identity. Y'all, I've told y'all before, I love action sci-fi movies like Marvel, DC, all that type of stuff. I've always loved anything dealing with superpowers. And he brought to mind for me a book that I had read. It was like a werewolf book or something. And these like werewolves or whatever, they have unique scents, like fragrance, right? To where none of their scents are the same. To where if one was in the area, you would know who was there. It's like a fingerprint. Like we all have unique fingerprints, right? That identifies who we are. So if someone, check for fingerprints on a table or something that like, you know what I'm saying, y'all? Like we all have unique fingerprints. That's how God referenced the scent to me, the fragrance, right? So she was saying that the lady had came down there trying to steal her fragrance. There was a fragrance she was in possession of, and the woman was trying to steal it. How God showed it to me was it was her identity. The thief had came to try to steal her identity. And in the process of trying to hold on to her identity, she committed a crime. Okay? Jesus is Lord. She committed a crime. And the particular crime she committed could have had her in bondage for the rest of her life. The crime she committed could have had her in bondage for the rest of her life. That's a serious crime that was committed in the dream. But because she was mine, I said I was going to cover her and protect her. And it wasn't like that's something she desired to do or wanted to go around doing. She showed remorse. She was in shock. Okay, so on this part, this is how God was showing me this part. For the prodigals, with them running away, them being in judgment, and them struggling, the way they've been struggling, some of them have finally come to the end of themselves. They finally pushed it a little bit too far, possibly trapped themselves, or gotten themselves involved in something to where basically they've come to the end of themselves. That's just how God was showing it to me. Some of the prodigals have committed some crimes as they were running from God, right? We already know that. But they pushed it a little bit too far. The enemy was trying to steal from them. He was trying to take their identity the whole time. He was trying to steal their fragrance the whole time. He was trying to change them and manipulate them the whole time and make them become something they were never created to be the whole time, just like he does all of us. But with God having us pray for them, the enemy also knows that they must be something special. Jesus is Lord. He knows they have a call on their life, because why else would God have us pray for them like this if they didn't? So he's been trying to steal their identity for the longest. He's been trying to shape and mold them into something they are not for the longest. We already know that the enemy wants to be God. So he's been trying to shape and mold them and steal their identity for the longest. And in the process, many crimes were committed. Okay? Jesus is Lord. But here we go. When God looks at them, he's looking at their heart. And even though many crimes have been committed by them, in the process of them running, in the process of them lacking understanding, in the process of them being tempted by the enemy, many crimes were committed, right? God's aware of that. He's seen it. But even though he's seen it, he's looking at their heart, and he sees they are remorseful. They're not proud about the wrong things they've done. They are carrying so much shame and remorse, and they're in a great deal of pain because of it. They are feeling void of identity. They have come to the end of themselves. They are tired. Some of them are in pieces. They have broken completely down for some of them. And God has been causing me to hear certain songs for the past couple of days, and the songs have had the same message, where basically some of them are finally crying out to God in surrender. They've been crying out to him. They've finally surrendered because they have finally come to the end of themselves. It's like their eyes are being opened, or they're just finally tired. Literally, finally coming to the end of themselves, okay? Jesus is Lord. So that's how God was showing me that part. That a lot of the prodigals are finally coming to the end of themselves. For whoever this is in season 4 right now, some of them are about to come around and reach out to you, but they're in a place where they are broken. They are in a low state. So it's like you're going to have to receive them. Make sure that you're gentle as you receive them. Okay? Partner with God. Before you receive them or as you're receiving them, because they're coming in a broken state. They've literally reached the end of themselves. They may be reaching out soon if they haven't already, for whoever this is in season 4. But they're coming in a broken state. They finally reached the end of themselves. If you think about somebody committing a crime such as murder, right? Something like that, right? Someone who they don't go around doing that on a normal basis, and then they accidentally commit a crime like that. Can you imagine? Just the thought, oh my God, my life is over. What have I done? Some of them have committed a crime to that extent, or got themselves in something, to that extent, where it's life-changing. What have I done? One mistake after the next, just digging a deeper and deeper ditch for themselves. And basically God was like, they come to the end of themselves, and they are remorseful and repentive. And God, Sion, sweetheart, I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on one moment. I'm sorry, you guys. That was my daughter. But they're remorseful. They are repentive, and they are ready. They're ready to come home, okay? And that God needs you to receive them with love, basically, okay? He needs you to receive them with love because they've just been through a lot. They've just been through so much. And so when I saw my daughter come through and I changed her clothes, I was changing her clothes, I had the slight thought of being apprehensive about her just for a little bit, because a serious crime had just been committed and I wasn't sure of her mind, the state of mind she was in. And I didn't know, if I could fully trust her. I didn't know what kind of state of mind she was in after what just took place. So I kind of stared at her for a minute to make sure she was good, because what just took place, how did that affect her? Do I have to be concerned if she will harm me? How does what just happened took place, how did that affect her? And will it cause her to harm me? I did have that thought process. And then after I stared at her for a while, I just felt compelled to hug her and hold her and embrace her with love, because I felt like that's what she needed from me. Jesus is Lord. So for the prodigals, the people this is for, God is embracing them with love because they have surrendered. Jesus is Lord. She surrendered. That's what she did by coming upstairs. The other two people, they didn't come upstairs. They stayed down there, locked in that escape room. But when I saw her as my daughter, she had appeared upstairs, which was a sign of surrender. She came out. The two were supposed to come out and they didn't. But the one who appeared as my daughter came out, which showed surrender, a sign of surrender. So Jesus is Lord. So they've surrendered. So he's going to receive them. God is going to receive them because they're being vulnerable with God like they never have before. They've come to the end of themselves and they're being vulnerable with him like they never have before, okay? Jesus is Lord. Okay, you guys. Okay, so I had to stop it right here because my recording ended up being a little over 2 hours total. And with the editor that I use, it's not able to download anything past that time, okay? So this is part 1, and this continues. You'll better listen to the rest of it on part 2, which should already be available once you get to this point, okay? All right, y'all. Love y'all so much, and this continues on part 2. I love y'all so much, and y'all be blessed.